Welcome back, everybody, to the 423 Football Podcast. We are back again to talk playoff football this time. Sorry for the long hiatus. We had a busy last week. Had wedding to go to, obviously the New Year's, and if you've been following us on Twitter, we said that Brett and I have both been sick. I'm still a little sick, so if I sound a little bit different today, I'll try to hold back the coughs and sneezes, but still trying to get over a cold or something. I don't know what it is, but anyway, today I will be talking just the Wildcard matchups. We were going to have two shows this week. We were going to do our award show, or our regular season fantasy award show, but that's going to be postponed till a later date. We're not really sure exactly when we're going to do that yet, but we will let you know sometime down the road. But today, just focusing on Wildcard weekend, and it's set to be a pretty good weekend, I think. A lot of good matchups, a lot of pretty good teams. I think some of the teams are, I don't know, especially in the AFC, are kind of on the lower tier of playoff eligible teams, but I mean they're in there, so anything could happen. It's the playoffs. We don't know. I was gonna wait. I know there's been a lot of news about coaching vacancies and GM jobs being open, and a lot of front office things going on at the moment. But I'm gonna save all that talk for a later episode, maybe when we do the award show, because that's a whole that could go on and on forever. A lot of teams switching up their coaching situations, and obviously I could go on and on about that. But I want to make sure we get a bunch of information for that, and hopefully get Brett's take on that as well. So, and bear with me, I'm still sick. Like I said, if I sniff or have the sniffles or anything like that, or cough or something, I don't know, take a sip of water here and there, just bear with me. But I'm going to try to make this short and sweet wild card preview. But I do want to say, not really news for this week, but because I'll go through each matchup here in a second, and I'll give you, at the very end, I'll give you kind of like a start and sit thing. I'll explain it when I get there, but it's more like a daily fantasy if you're playing that, or like one of these perfect challenges. I think that's what it's called on NFL.com. I think Yahoo and ESPN have their own sort of thing like that, but it's kind of like daily fantasy, but for the playoffs. Different format, but I'll get to that at the very end. So, first matchup we got Titans versus the Chiefs. Titans ultimately got in on that win, or they got that win they needed to put them in the playoffs, and they are matched up here going to Arrowhead to play the Chiefs. I think we're going to see more of a passing attack from the Chiefs in this game. Titans have been very, very poor in the secondary this year. I know they've had a lot of good guys step up talent wise. Kevin Byard and Adoree Jackson, obviously young guys, young rookies. They've stepped up, but still they're pretty vulnerable in the passing game. So I expect a big game from Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Alex Smith even as well. And I think on the Titans side, well, I will say Kareem Hunt's obviously going to be involved quite a bit too. Akeem Hunt, I believe, Akeem Hunt, I believe, is hurt. I think the Chiefs signed C.J. Spiller back again, so maybe C.J. Spiller gets a little bit of work if they're up big, which I kind of expect them to be up big. But on the Titans side of the ball, if they can keep it close, I think the Titans are going to try to run the ball as much as possible. I think we still don't know if it's if DeMarco Murray is going to play or if he's going to be back for this game. I think it's leaning towards him being doubtful. It's probably going to be a game-time decision, but I don't expect him to play. So Derrick Henry, I like him in this game. I don't know if the game script's going to be that great for him, but the matchup's not bad. I definitely don't like Mariota. He had a nice game against the Jags last week to get him into the playoffs, but he has been awful all year, and it's hard to trust the guy. So maybe stray away from Marcus Mariota if you're playing in daily fantasy. I got the Chiefs winning this game in Arrowhead, moving on to the divisional round. Okay, Falcons and Rams. Falcons snuck in with the 6th seed in the NFC, while the Rams look much better than a team that usually plays on Wildcard weekend. They are looking phenomenal at the moment. Rams, stout defense, have a very stout defense, led by Aaron Donald and a very, very good secondary. That could give Matt Ryan and the passing game a tough time. I expect them to get a lot of pressures on Matt Ryan. I expect the secondary to force at least one turnover on Ryan. So I don't know. I'd stray away from Ryan, and even Julio Jones in this one, I think he's going to have a tough time. I think the Rams are really going to focus on shutting him down. Mohamed Sanu, I think he'll get a little bit of work. But again, I think the most effective part of the Falcons' offense in this game is probably going to go through dump-offs to like Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman out of the backfield. I think they're really going to focus on, or the Rams are going to focus on shutting down Julio Jones. Now, granted, that's a lot easier said than done. Julio can outplay any coverage he wants, really, as long as Matt Ryan is giving him good opportunities to catch the ball. So, I mean, Julio is obviously a superior talent to most cornerbacks in the NFL, so Julio Jones could easily have a good game here. I think both teams in this one are going to have to run the ball effectively to have a chance, though. And obviously, the Rams, that's their bread and butter. They're going to do that with Todd Gurley. They've done it all year. Todd Gurley's I expect him to have a phenomenal game. I think they're going to feed him a lot. I don't think the Rams and Sean McVay want to put that much pressure on Jared Goff in his first playoff game. I fully expect Todd Gurley to get well over 20 touches in this game. If you're looking for maybe a contrarian play in daily fantasy, well, I'll talk about that later, but I'll just say I like Cooper Kupp in this game. I think Sammy Watkins is going to have trouble with those Falcons cornerbacks, and maybe one of the tight ends gets involved in this one as well, the Rams tight ends. I know Higbee has been one of Goff's favorite targets this year, and Gerald Everett, I still am waiting on him to officially break out. But I got the Rams winning this one. I think they keep riding the hot season. Bills and Jaguars. Not first AFC matchup. LaShawn McCoy dealing with an ankle injury. He's supposedly going to be a game-time decision. But they still, actually, I'll say he's supposed to be a game-time decision. He's got a shot to play, but apparently he's not going to be 100% if he is out there. So I don't know how much they're going to push him. So LaShawn McCoy, especially, I don't expect the Bills to be really competitive in this game either way. But if you're thinking about playing him in daily fantasy or your perfect challenge, I would stray away from that, definitely. I'm not even sure who they're going to lean towards as a backup. I know Tolbert got quite a bit of work last week, but against this Jags defense, I don't see it going well. Bills, they're riding the high off getting into the playoffs in dramatic fashion. I will say that. After obviously Andy Dalton and the Bengals took down the Ravens in the final seconds. But the Jags they've looked like the Rams have, but the AFC version, in that they're fresh on the scene and seem to be dominating teams on defense and in the run game. So I think the Jags are going to continue doing that. I think the Jags' sheer power and speed on both sides of the ball is going to be too much for the woesome Bills in this one. So I got the Jags winning this one. I think it's going to be a lot of Leonard Fournette, and Bills' pass defense is a little better than their run defense, but so I might stray away from Blake Bortles. I do think Keelan Cole will actually have a decent game. I don't really expect him to see that much of Tre'Davious White. Marquise Lee might be back. Alan Hearns might be back. So maybe a decent play for Keelan Cole. Panthers and Saints, last wild card matchup. It's a divisional matchup, so these teams see each other often, and they're familiar with one another. They know what each other does, or they know what each other do. Two seemingly stout defenses, surprisingly. Panthers, we've known they've been defensive minded for a while now. Luke Kuechly is a beast at middle linebacker. Easily, in my opinion, the best middle linebacker in football. And Saints have really, really improved on the defensive side of the ball. They have the defensive rookie of the year in Marshawn Lattimore. They got arguably the defensive player of the year. I think I said rookie of the year in Lattimore. I think I said rookie of the year. And defensive player of the year in Cameron Jordan. He could arguably be up there as well. So very, very stout on defense for both sides of the ball. But, however, both teams have offenses that have been, previously endowed offenses that have shown that they can move the ball effectively. They have a bunch of star players on the offensive side of the ball. Drew Brees is arguably top 5 quarterback in the league. Michael Thomas is fantastic wide receiver. They have the best running back tandem in the league, Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. I expect them to be involved a lot in this game. Ted Ginn, I think he'll have a big game. I think I wouldn't say revenge game for him because they've seen each other twice already this year. But Ted Ginn, I think he'd love to do it to him in the playoffs. And on the Panthers side of the ball, Cam Newton, obviously a lot more inconsistent than Drew Brees, but Cam Newton can easily go out there and put on a show when he wants to. It's just which Cam Newton will we see? And unfortunately, on this stage in New Orleans against the Saints, I think he kind of crumbles. I think they're going to use Christian McCaffrey quite a bit. I think they're going to have to because they're going to be down. Devin Funchess is going to be shut down by Marshawn Lattimore. I have no hesitation saying that. Greg Olsen, I think, has an okay game. I think he's going to be fed quite a bit. But if the Saints are smart, they will definitely give someone help on Greg Olsen because really, outside of Devin Funchess is going to be shut down by Lattimore. You have that covered. Then Greg Olsen, you take him away, and then you take the running back away. It's just Cam. And Cam, he can do things with his legs, but that's not going to... Just that alone is not going to win you a game. This might be lower scoring than most people think. Again, I talked about the stout defenses that these teams have shown in the past couple weeks. So it might be kind of low scoring, maybe just like 24-20 game type of deal, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I have the Saints winning at home. I think I took all the home teams, actually. I did. I took Chiefs, took the Rams, took Jags, and took Saints. So Wildcard weekend, those are my picks. We'll see how they go into the divisional round. Okay. Daily fantasy starts and perfect challenge if you're playing that. I'll just give you a few of the picks that I would make, and then I'll give you some like contrarian picks because I know obviously if you're playing on like FanDuel or DraftKings, you have to make money decisions and put these players or fit a certain budget. So first pick, I'm gonna go with. Sorry, my computer decided to pop up a notification, a software update notification real quick. So let's get that off of there. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, my QB pick, I'm going with Alex Smith. I know everyone's probably going to jump on the Drew Brees and Cam Newton train, maybe even Blake Bortles, maybe Matt Ryan, Jared Goff. But I actually like Alex Smith in this one. Going up against the Titans, pass D is not very good. They don't have much of a pass rush. I think Alex Smith has a very good game here, and he's going to be probably contrarian play and a little bit cheaper of an option. Running back, and I should say, this format usually in the daily fantasy sports or the main format. It's 1 QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a kicker, and a defense. I know some are a little bit different. I know some have like flexes in there, and some have maybe only 2 wide receivers, but this is the one I'm going off of. Okay, running backs, I got Todd Gurley. He's probably going to be the most expensive running back, but he's going up against the Falcons. Not the greatest run D. I think Todd Gurley is going to be, again, like I said before, 25. I think he's going to have well over 25 touches and be the focal point of that offense. So Todd Gurley all the way there. And then Alvin Kamara. Mark Ingram's still going to be the starting running back, but I think Alvin Kamara is going to be a much better weapon for the Saints in this game, going up against the Panthers, who have a pretty good just like straight line run D, but you get Alvin Kamara in space, he can outplay anybody. I do want to give you some contrarian picks for running back. Derrick Henry, I think, will be a good play, maybe a cheaper option. DeMarco Murray, I don't expect him to play, and even if he does, not the he's probably not going to be that healthy, and Derrick Henry is going to get quite a bit of work anyway. Christian McCaffrey, I have no problem with playing him. I think the Panthers are going to be behind. We already saw Damiere Byrd is out for the season for the Panthers, and McCaffrey's going to get even more targets than he already is, and that's great for daily fantasy because most of those use PPR, and McCaffrey, he's a ball hog, so you got to love that. And I guess you could keep an eye on LaShawn McCoy if he sits. Like, that'd be a super, super contrarian play, playing Mike Tolbert, but maybe you could play him. I don't expect him to get that much against the Jags, but if he's going to be cheap, I know that. So if you need a cheap option, Mike Tolbert might be okay. Wide receivers. Tyreek Hill is probably my favorite in this one. I like Tyreek Hill this week. Again, I've been saying how poor that Titans secondary is. I know a lot of people, top picks are probably going to be like Julio Jones. Actually, there's not that many wide receivers that are like top tier this week. Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, maybe Funchess are top tier. But Julio Jones, I really don't think he's going to have that great of a game. I think the Rams are going to focus in on him quite a bit. I don't like any of the Bills wide receivers going up against the Jags. Don't really like any Titans receivers. Tyreek Hill is really the only Chiefs receiver that can do much. I don't know. It's a tough week for wide receivers. I guess I'd have really no problem playing Julio Jones, just because the receivers are so weak this week. So weak this week. That sounded good. But yeah, I like Tyreek Hill in this one probably the most. Keelan Cole, I mentioned him earlier. Keelan Cole, I think, is going to he's become easily the number one target for Blake Bortles with Marquise Lee out. Lee might still be out. Allen Hurns might come back. D.D. Westbrook still really hasn't got that much going, but Keelan Cole, I'm starting to like this guy a lot, especially in daily fantasy. And then Cooper Kupp, mentioned him before as well. Cooper Kupp, I think Sammy Watkins is going to be shut down in this game by Desmond Trufant, and Cooper Kupp, I think, is going to have a pretty decent game. Now, I mentioned Julio Jones. Michael Thomas might be an okay play as well. Panthers really don't have that shutdown corner like they did back with Josh Norman. I definitely don't want to play Devin Funchess, as I mentioned, going up against Lattimore, so that's not an option. And Kelvin Benjamin, no, going up against the Jags defense, not liking that. And then tight ends. Travis Kelce is obviously my number one pick. I think he's going to have a field day on the Titans. I think he's going to have a huge game. If I was going to build a team around, if I was going to pick one pass catcher out of all the pass catchers, wide receivers, tight ends, I'd probably go with Travis Kelce this week. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind he's going to have a good game. There's actually quite a few tight ends that might have decent games. Travis Kelce, obviously, number one. Greg Olsen, I'd take him 2. And then Delaney Walker. Josh Hill or Coby Fleener. I think I go towards Josh Hill because he's been getting a little more work lately. I think Hill might have an okay game. And Austin Hooper, no, I'm not really looking towards him. So, yeah, Kelsey, Olsen, then Walker. But I'd really, really prefer to have Kelsey if I can. Kicker, I'm going to go with Will Lutz. I like Harrison Butker. I know he's at home as well, going against the Titans. Rams, they got a new kicker. Zerline's not an option. Matt Bryant, I kind of like, but nah. Jags, Bills kicker, no. But I'm going to go with Will Lutz at home. He's indoors for one, so he's not going to have to deal with weather, potential weather, like Butker might have to. So, and Will Lutz has been just dynamite at home, just incredible. And the Saints have no problem putting him out there for 50-yarders. Will Lutz could have a big game here. Excuse me. And then last, defenses. I'll give you three because I know just the pricing on defenses can be a little bizarre, and I know you want to cut corners with them at the when it comes to budgeting. But Jags, obviously, they're going to be your number one this week. They're playing the Bills, and I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that they'll finish as the number one defense. It's just whether you want to pay the price. And then Saints, I like the Saints against the Panthers, and then Chiefs against the Titans. Those are about interchangeable for me. I think both of them will give up a little bit in terms of points, but not really that much different from one another that it would make that big of a difference. Okay. Before I close it out, I do want to say this daily fantasy sports pick, I know I can't think of it. I think it's called Fantasy Challenge or Playoff Challenge. The one where you go in and you pick, like, throughout the playoffs, you pick players it's kind of like the just perfect challenge throughout the NFL season on nfl.com. But they have a playoff challenge, and it's like you pick players for 1 week, and then the next week they double if you pick the same player. So you might want to check out that if you're looking like I obviously gave you these guys, and you can play in daily fantasy sports, but you can pick, like, because they double up, you can pick players that have that are on bye. Like, so, like, you could pick Patriots players or Steelers players or Vikings players or Eagles players, and they would double up next week. If you think they're going to go further in the playoffs, that might be a good play. Like, Patriots are probably going to move on in all likelihood. So maybe you pick Brady or Deion Lewis. Deion Lewis I really, really like. I do want to say Rex Burkhead is back at practice, so maybe look out for that. But Deion Lewis, I think he's going to be the star for the Patriots in the playoffs. And maybe if you want to pick Gronk at a tight end position, I know I was bashing the wide receivers in this round, so maybe if you want to wait on Antonio Brown, possibly he's back from his calf injury. If you want to wait on Alshon Jeffrey or Adam Thielen or someone like that. But those could double up your points if you're playing that type of fantasy in these playoffs. So that is going to be all for today. We'll be back sometime next week. I'm hoping we'll be back on Wednesday, maybe Thursday. I'm not really sure when we're going to do the Fantasy Awards show yet, but if not, we'll definitely be back for the divisional preview next week. Hopefully, we'll have a good Wildcard weekend. Hopefully, everyone has a good weekend of football. But I will be going out of town this weekend, so I don't know how much Twitter and Facebook post I'll be putting out there. So I'll do my best, but we'll just see how it goes. But make sure you go and follow us on Twitter at the423football. Make sure you like us on Facebook, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Give us a like, leave your comments and reviews, send in your questions. Love to get some questions in here, and make sure you share us with the world. Thanks for listening. We are the 423 Football Podcast.